Hi, welcome again. I hope you're doing okay. I'm Heath. I make videos on long-term fatigue conditions like CFS, ME, fibromyalgia and long COVID. Now, if you've had CFS, you'll probably be aware of meditation because it's often recommended as a strategy to help calm down our nervous system. And I think for most people with long-term fatigue, meditation can be a really helpful strategy because when we meditate, we really plug into that parasympathetic mode and it helps to get us out of that survival mode that we're so often in. And there's also lots of other benefits to regular meditation, such as helping to enhance our present moment awareness, improve our self-compassion, and enhancing our ability to emotionally self-regulate. So all these things are really useful and beneficial. And I have to say that personally I've found meditation to be very helpful. But occasionally people will say things like, when I meditate I feel worse. I get really anxious and even I can feel quite unsafe when I meditate. So they come to meditation with this idea that it's going to help calm them down and they actually end up feeling worse. They feel more anxious by the end of it. So this is for people who really struggle to meditate and who find that meditation makes them feel worse. And I'm not a medical professional. This isn't medical or mental health advice. This is just my opinions based on research I've done on the topic, and particularly the book Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness by David Treleaven. So what's going on here? Why do some people really struggle with meditation and find it makes them worse? Well, they might be struggling with meditation if they've experienced trauma of some kind or if they've experienced traumatic stress. Now, what do we mean by trauma? Well, trauma might be considered any experience that's stressful enough to leave us feeling helpless, frightened, overwhelmed, or just unsafe. So after a traumatic event, we're left feeling a sense of feeling unsafe in our own skin, and we're often left having to cope with very scary sensations within ourselves and within our bodies and minds. Now, it's worth pointing out here that mindfulness meditation can be really helpful for people who have experienced trauma, because while trauma can create stress, meditation has been shown to reduce it. But unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that for some people, because mindfulness can aggravate or it can intensify those symptoms of trauma. So there's the possibility of experiencing things like flashbacks or heightened emotional arousal or dissociation, which is a feeling of being disconnected from our thoughts, emotions and physical sensations. So one way of looking at this is that by paying mindful attention to what's going on in our field of awareness, you're kind of latching on to those remnants of trauma or those things that you haven't properly processed. So what should you do if you're one of these people who finds meditation does this? Should you abandon meditation entirely? So I don't think it's necessary to stop completely or entirely. It's just necessary to make some changes to your meditation practice so it's trauma sensitive or trauma informed. And that's what a lot of the book that I mentioned talks about by David Treleaven in Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness. It's about making mindfulness trauma sensitive. So how do we do this? So first we need to stay within our window of tolerance. So if we're feeling extremely uncomfortable when we're meditating, and I'm not talking about feeling bored or a kind of low level emotion like that, I'm talking about when we're feeling really uncomfortable. And this might be when we're hyper aroused, so when we're feeling anxious, sweating, heart racing, and it might also be if we're feeling hypo-aroused, which is actually the opposite. It's you're feeling foggy, you're feeling disconnected, and you're feeling numb. So the window of tolerance is between those two polarities. It's somewhere in the middle. It's that place where you're still feeling comfortable and you're still able to breathe deeply. You're feeling centered and you're feeling calm. So the idea is to build those skills that notice or make you aware when you're moving out of that window of tolerance so that you can actually pull yourself back into that calm state again. So we need to experiment here. We need to find out ways that we can bring ourselves back into our window of tolerance. So here's some things we can try. So when meditating, we can try opening our eyes during the meditation practice, and perhaps focusing on something in the room or outside the room. We can focus on us being grounded on earth, maybe the feeling of our feet or the feeling of our backsides being on the ground or on a chair. We can focus on particular sounds in our environment, maybe the sound of birds outside. We can take a break entirely. We can actually pause our meditation practice and maybe have a walk outside. So there's lots of different things we can try. So the bottom line is that we don't have to sit there and suffer if meditation is making us feel worse. We can adapt, we can adjust, we can make changes, we can become aware of different things, as I mentioned, like different things in our environment, the feelings and sensations coming from different parts of our body. We need to switch things up if we're experiencing deeply, deeply uncomfortable feelings. So yeah, the important thing to say is that if meditation is making you feel worse, that you need to apply the brake. You don't need to sit there and think, I have to do this meditation. It's making you feel awful. You need to find something which can be described as your neutral anchor, something that when you focus on it will help to return you to your window of tolerance so you can feel safe again. And for some people, this could even be a soft toy or the scent of a candle or something like that. So it's important to experiment, find out what works for you personally. So I hope that's given you a few things to try if you happen to be someone who's really struggled or is struggling with meditation because it's making you feel anxious or emotionally dysregulated. So I hope that's been helpful, and I'll speak to you next time.